"You don't have to do this," Ellie said, her voice trembling under the hum of laughter and clinking glasses. Leonardo didn't look at her. The folded note she had slipped into his hand moments earlier felt heavier than any contract he had ever signed. Outside, fireworks began to bloom across the Los Angeles skyline, the muffled sound of the countdown echoing through the restaurant's walls. Inside, under the warm amber light of Cavatina, two people stood suspended between noise and stillness, between what was and what might still be. He could have walked away. He almost did. But something in her voice, something unguarded, human, made him stay. Welcome back, family. I'm glad to drop this amazing story to start a new year. Tell me where you're watching from in the comments section. Let us build this community together. Subscribe, like, and share the video to make it go viral. Let us continue. Hours earlier, Cavatina Restaurant, Los Angeles. New Year's Eve. The air inside shimmered with energy. The clink of champagne flutes, the glint of sequin dresses, the rhythmic pulse of a jazz trio tucked in the corner. At the entrance, Leonardo Miles, billionaire real estate mogul, founder of Miles Properties, a man who could buy half the city skyline, stood before the maitre d'. "I'm sorry, Mr. Miles," the young man said with a rehearsed smile. "We're completely booked tonight." The words landed sharper than expected. Leonardo was used to yes. Rooms opening, tables appearing, favors owed. But here, amid the polished floors and the smell of rosemary and butter, he was simply another man without a reservation. Around him, celebrities and socialites drifted past, laughing easily. Flashbulbs captured moments he would never be part of. For a brief second, he felt it, the quiet ache of being unseen. He nodded, murmured a polite "thank you," and turned to leave. He told himself it didn't matter. He could go home to his mansion in the hills, to a glass of aged whiskey and the familiar echo of silence. But then he saw her. Behind the counter, moving quickly between tables, was a waitress with tired eyes and a messy bun that refused to stay in place. Ellie Clark. She didn't recognize him. She didn't see the billionaire or the headlines. Only a man standing alone on New Year's Eve. And then she smiled. That single, unguarded smile, warm, uncalculated, shifted something inside him. It was the first honest thing he'd felt in years. When Ellie gestured toward the small table by the kitchen door, Leonardo hesitated. It was clearly meant for staff. The chipped edges, the smell of garlic and detergent, the clatter of plates rolling through the swing door. He almost said no. Men like him didn't sit there. But something in her tone, unfiltered, unafraid, made refusal feel like a kind of cowardice. So he sat. She slid into the seat across from him, apron folded, hair tucked behind her ear. The noise of the kitchen pressed around them, but it didn't matter. For the first time, he wasn't performing. He wasn't anyone important. Ellie talked easily, as if silence had never been a threat. She was from Pasadena, working double shifts to keep up with rent. Her daughter, Lily, was 6, home tonight with a babysitter who charged by the hour. She laughed when she said it, but Leonardo caught the exhaustion behind it. He found himself listening, not planning his next word, not trying to sound wise or generous, just listening. The sound of her voice filled a space inside him he hadn't known was empty. It wasn't pity he felt, it was recognition. When he stood to leave, he tucked a folded bill under his cup. She noticed immediately, plucked it up, and slipped it back into his jacket pocket with quiet certainty. "You already paid," she said. "By listening." He froze, unsure how to respond. Her words lingered even after he walked out into the night air, the smell of garlic still clinging to his coat. If you've ever met someone who reminded you that kindness still exists, someone who saw you instead of what you had, hold on to that moment. It changes everything. Pause. And if stories like this still matter to you, if you still believe small mercies can save us, stay with us. Days passed, but Leonardo couldn't shake the memory of her warmth. The way Ellie's words had reached past the armor he'd built. It was ridiculous, he told himself, how one dinner could linger like that. Still, he found himself back at Cavatina, mumbling something to the valet about a meeting nearby. Ellie's surprise was visible. though she masked it quickly behind a polite smile. "Table for one again?" she asked. He nodded, pretending not to see the flicker of curiosity in her eyes. Same table, same dish, same faint hum of kitchen noise pressing against the walls. They talked this time about ordinary things. Music she played to stay awake on late drives, LA traffic that felt like punishment, the rent that never stopped climbing. Leonardo listened, strangely at ease. The world outside, with its headlines and handshakes, felt impossibly far away. She laughed, a tired, beautiful sound that didn't quite reach her eyes. He noticed then the worn edges of her shoes, the small cracks in her hands from constant washing. Each detail grounded him, pulling him further from the world he once ruled. When the check came, he didn't argue this time. She slipped it from his hand with that same quiet authority, the kind that didn't demand but reminded. Walking out into the evening air, Leonardo realized he'd spent 2 hours talking about nothing, and yet it felt like everything. For once, he wasn't being watched, sold, or remembered. He was simply seen. But as he reached for his car door, he caught a glimpse of someone standing across the street, watching him. A silhouette he almost recognized. And just like that, the feeling of peace began to unravel. It was close to midnight when the last guest left. The restaurant lights dimmed, and the clatter faded to a hush. Ellie stayed behind to wipe the tables, sleeves rolled to her elbows, humming softly under her breath. Leonardo lingered longer than he should have, finishing the last sip of coffee gone cold. Maybe it was the quiet. Maybe it was the way she didn't seem to mind his silence. Whatever it was, something in her loosened. "My ex left 2 years ago," she said, almost absently. No warning. Just gone. Took the savings, left the bills. "So I do this at night." She gestured around the room. "And clean air rooms in the morning. Keeps the lights on. Keeps Lily fed." Her voice didn't break. It didn't need to. The strength in it hurt more than any sadness could. Leonardo felt something shift again. The helpless kind of ache that came from realizing money couldn't fix what mattered. Still, instinct pushed through. "I could help," he offered softly. "The rent, Lily's school, whatever you need." Ellie stopped wiping, eyes lifting to his. "You can't buy the kind of help I need," she said. The words landed like a quiet verdict. For a man who'd built empires through deals and digits, rejection had always been a negotiation away. But this was final, honest, human. Later, he drove through LA's empty streets, headlights slicing through fog and silence. Skyscrapers glimmered in the distance, his world still standing, but somehow smaller. At a red light, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. A single message appeared. "You don't know the half of it." The light turned green, but he didn't move. Leonardo told himself it wasn't charity, just consideration, a gesture of gratitude. Each time he visited Cavatina, he left something behind. An envelope for the daycare, a transfer to the utility company, a discreet donation under a false name. Ellie never mentioned it, and he never explained. It became his quiet ritual, a way to feel close without intruding. Weeks passed. Then one afternoon, he arrived to find Ellie waiting outside, arms folded, her expression unreadable. The easy warmth he'd grown used to was gone. "The school called," she said. "They wanted me to thank Mr. Miles for his generous contribution." Her voice didn't rise, but every word cut sharper than anger. He opened his mouth, searching for something noble to say, but nothing sounded right. "I just wanted to help," he murmured. "You think kindness is control," she said, stepping closer. "You don't understand. Sometimes people need to stand on their own." The street around them buzzed with evening life, but he heard nothing beyond her words. For the first time, someone wasn't grateful for his generosity. She didn't look impressed or indebted, just tired. Leonardo nodded slowly, guilt creeping in like cold air. "I'm sorry," he whispered, though it felt too small, too late. That night, he drove aimlessly through the city, her words echoing in every red light, every passing reflection in the glass towers he once ruled. Maybe it was never about helping her. Maybe he'd been trying to repair the pieces of himself that money could no longer reach. Have you ever tried to fix someone's life only to realize you were really trying to fix yourself? If that line stings a little, It's probably because it's true. Stay. The story's just starting to change. And somewhere across town, Ellie received a call from a voice she hadn't heard in 2 years. Weeks slipped by quietly after the confrontation. Leonardo still came to Cavatina, but less often, careful now, measured. Sometimes Ellie spoke to him, sometimes she didn't. The distance between them wasn't cold, just real, earned. One evening, after closing, she found him outside, sitting on the curb beneath a flickering streetlight. She didn't say much, just handed him a small, wrinkled envelope. "I've had this since the day he left," she said. "Lily's father. I've never opened it. I thought if I did, it might break whatever's left of me." They walked in silence to the park down the street. The air was cool, the city muted. They sat on a weathered bench as the sun slipped behind the hills, bathing everything in gold. Her fingers trembled as she tore the seal. Inside, a single page, creased, faded. She read it aloud, voice barely above a whisper. "I can't be the man you need, but I hope someone shows her what staying looks like." The words hung there, fragile and heavy all at once. Ellie's eyes filled, but she didn't cry for long. The tears came like release, not collapse. Leonardo sat beside her, hands still, heart loud. He didn't speak. He couldn't, because in her pain, he saw his own reflection. Years of running from anything that demanded he stay, that asked him to feel without fixing. When she finally folded the letter and placed it back in her pocket, the silence between them felt almost sacred. Then Ellie turned slightly, her voice quiet but steady. "He's been writing again," she said. "Only this time, not to me." Leonardo looked up, the question already forming. But she didn't answer. She just watched the last of the sun disappear. The months that followed felt quieter, slower, like the world had finally exhaled. Leonardo stopped trying to fill every silence with solutions. He learned, awkwardly at first, how to let things be. He still came by Cavatina, but not with gifts or gestures, just presence. A cup of coffee, a shared nod, the occasional smile across the counter. Ellie didn't ask where he'd been, and he didn't offer explanations. They were both learning what it meant to exist without needing to fix each other. Ellie's focus was Lily now, steady, determined, almost fierce. She worked her shifts, paid her bills, rebuilt the rhythm of a life that no longer teetered on survival. Leonardo admired that from a distance. It was strange how staying away sometimes felt more intimate than being close. When her car broke down one rainy afternoon, she called him, not because she couldn't manage, but because she chose to. He didn't overstep. He drove her and Lily home, helped carry groceries up the steps, and left without offering money or advice. Just a quiet, "Call if you need me." Weeks later, at Lily's school fundraiser, Ellie spotted him behind a table of cupcakes, sleeves rolled up, face smudged with flour. No cameras, no headlines, just Leonardo, clumsy, human there. Their connection began to rebuild, not through grand gestures, but through shared moments that asked for nothing in return. Respect, it turned out, could grow where ego once lived. As the night ended, Ellie looked at him across the noisy gym, something unspoken flickering between them, a trust not yet named, but felt. Then her phone buzzed. One message, 3 words, "He's coming back." Ellie's smile faltered, and just like that, peace became temporary again. The night before New Year's Eve, Cavatina buzzed with emotion. Clinking glasses, trays of appetizers, laughter layered over exhaustion. Ellie stood at the center of it all, clipboard in hand, her hair tied up, sleeves rolled high. She was the calm inside the storm, though the faint shadows beneath her eyes told a different story. Leonardo arrived early, not in a tailored suit or with a reservation, but in rolled-up sleeves and an apron that didn't quite fit. He'd volunteered quietly, insisting on helping rather than attending. No one questioned him, maybe because, for once, he looked like he belonged. They worked side by side, carrying dishes, greeting guests, exchanging quick smiles between chaos. The tension that had once defined their every conversation melted into something lighter. Easier. When Ellie accidentally tipped a tray of champagne, the glasses shattered in a glittering arc across the floor. Without thinking, Leonardo knelt beside her, helping gather the shards. Their hands brushed, briefly, accidentally, and yet it felt like a sentence that didn't need words. No grand gesture, no promises, just two people showing up where it mattered. Later, as the event wound down, Lily ran through the crowd, wrapping her arms around her mother's waist before spotting Leonardo. "You look funny in that apron," she giggled, and for the first time in years, he laughed, a sound unguarded and real. The three of them sat among the remaining volunteers, sharing leftovers by candlelight while the world outside counted down to midnight. For the first time, Leonardo didn't feel the urge to leave, to fix, to control. He simply felt peace. Then, as the clock struck 12, the front doors opened, revealing a man in the doorway, soaked from rain, holding a small, crumpled suitcase. Exactly 1 year after the night he couldn't get a table, Leonardo stood once more inside Cavatina. But this time, he wasn't waiting to be seated. He was helping serve. The dining room glowed with warmth and laughter, a soft hum of conversation weaving through the music. Ellie moved beside him, laughter bubbling easily, her hands steady even amid the chaos. Lily darted between tables, handing out sparklers, her joy infectious. "Careful," Ellie warned, smiling anyway. Leonardo couldn't help but watch them both, the ache of something long denied, now replaced with quiet gratitude. As midnight neared, the restaurant lights dimmed. Outside, fireworks burst across Los Angeles, gold, blue, silver. Inside, people cheered and held one another close. The air shimmered with hope, the kind that belonged to endings and beginnings alike. Ellie turned to him, eyes bright. "You don't have to work tonight," she teased. He smiled softly. "I'm not working," he said. "I'm staying." In that moment, something settled inside him, something he'd spent years chasing through boardrooms, hotels, and hollow success. Belonging. Not the kind you could buy, but the kind earned through presence, through showing up even when it wasn't easy. Ellie raised a glass toward him, a silent toast that said everything words couldn't. If you've ever found peace not in what you gained, but in who stayed, that's what this story is about. Stay with us. There are more stories that remind us we're never as alone as we think. Outside, the city shimmered gold beneath the fireworks. Ellie stood beside him. Lily tugged at his sleeve, her voice soft against the noise. "Make a wish," she whispered. Leonardo looked at them both and smiled. "I already did. Thank you for staying to the very end. Trust you love the story. Subscribe to our channel to get more amazing stories. Like and comment your thoughts. Thank you.